Today we have Slack, Discord, group chats, servers, emojis, bots, all the things we expect from modern online communities. But before all of that, there was IRC. Internet Relay Chat was one of the earliest real-time communication systems on the internet. And if you were online in the 90s, there's a good chance you spent way too many hours using it. It was chaotic, nerdy, sometimes mysterious, and occasionally a little bit illegal. It's where hackers hung out, open source projects were coordinated, gaming clans formed, and where a lot of early internet culture was born. In many ways, IRC was the Wild West of online chat. And today, we're going to take a look at how it worked, the software people used, and why it became such a huge part of early internet life. IRC stands for Internet Relay Chat, and it was created in 1988 by a Finnish computer scientist. His original goal was pretty simple. He wanted to replace a local bulletin board chat system at the University of Oulu with something that could operate across the growing internet. The solution he built was surprisingly elegant. Instead of a single central server, IRC used networks of servers that linked together. When you connected to one server, you effectively became part of the entire network. From there, you could join different chat rooms, known as channels, and instantly talk to people from all over the world. And in the late 80s and early 90s, real-time communication with strangers across the continents felt almost magical. IRC didn't have flashy graphics or modern interfaces. There were no avatars, emojis, or reaction buttons. Just text. But despite its simplicity, it was incredibly powerful. Chat rooms were called channels, and they were usually named with a hashtag in front, like hashtag Linux, hashtag Quake, or hashtag programming. To join one, you would simply type a command like /join hashtag Linux. If you wanted to send someone a private message, you could type /msg for message and then their username. And if you were a channel operator, you had additional powers. You could kick someone out of the channel or ban them entirely. Using IRC often felt a little like operating a command terminal from a hacker movie. And for a lot of people, it was the first time they felt like they were really controlling a computer instead of just clicking on one. People didn't connect to IRC through a web browser. Instead, they used dedicated software known as an IRC client. One of the most famous was mIRC, which became extremely popular on Windows during the 90s. mIRC had a graphical interface, scripting support, file transfers, and automation features. It was powerful, but also relatively easy to use, which made it incredibly popular with everyday internet users. Then there was BitchX. Yes, that was the real name. BitchX was a Unix and Linux IRC client based on an earlier client called IRC2, and it lived entirely inside a terminal window. It looked intimidating at first, but it was extremely powerful and highly customizable. If mIRC was the friendly Windows client, BitchX was the choice for sysadmins, Linux users, and hardcore terminal enthusiasts. There were also many other clients like irssi, as in IRC, XChat, Epic, and IRC2, each with their own loyal communities. And if you really wanted to stand out, you could customize your client with scripts, themes, and automation that turned IRC into a surprisingly sophisticated tool. In the early days of the internet, IRC wasn't just a chat platform. It was where entire communities gathered. Open source developers coordinated projects there. Linux users helped each other troubleshoot problems. Gaming clans recruited members and organized matches. Even technical support often happened on IRC. Instead of searching forums for documentation, you could join a channel like Linux Help, ask your question, and often get an answer from someone within minutes. It wasn't always organized, and sometimes it was chaotic, but it worked surprisingly well. In many ways, IRC functioned as a kind of proto-Discord, decades before modern platforms existed. Of course, we can't talk about IRC history without mentioning one of its most infamous communities, the warez scene. Warez was slang for pirated software, games, applications, movies, music, and all kinds of digital media, if you know what I mean. were shared through underground communities that operated largely through IRC. Groups competed to crack copy protections and release software first. These releases were distributed through private channels and invite-only communities. It became a highly organized underground ecosystem with its own rules, reputation systems, and hierarchies. For better or worse, IRC became one of the central hubs of this scene. One of the most fascinating features of IRC was something called FServe, short for file server. With the right scripts or client configuration, a user could share files directly from their computer through their IRC client. Other users could browse the available files and request downloads using simple commands. You might see commands like !list, !slots, !get filename.zip. Bots and scripts manage queues and download slots, and sometimes you had to wait quite a while before your turn came up. When the transfer finally started, it used something called DCC, or Direct Client Connection. That meant the file wasn't coming from a central server. It was being transferred directly from another person's computer. In other words, IRC was doing peer-to-peer file sharing long before services like Napster or LimeWire became mainstream. IRC also had its own unique brand of chaos. One of the strangest phenomena was something called a netsplit. Because IRC networks were made up of multiple interconnected servers, sometimes the connection between two parts of the network would fail. When that happened, the users connected to those servers would suddenly appear to disappear from the channel. Then, once the servers reconnected, all of the users would reappear at once. It often looked like half the channel had simply vanished and then magically returned a few minutes later. Combined with channel takeovers, bot wars, script battles, and constant operator drama, IRC could sometimes feel like a digital frontier town. Messy, unpredictable, but incredibly fun. Even though platforms like Discord and Slack have largely taken over today, IRC hasn't completely disappeared. Many networks are still active, including OFTC and EFNet, and they continue to host communities around the world. Many open source projects still rely on IRC as a lightweight and reliable communication tool. But more importantly, IRC helped shape the culture of the early internet. It was where developers collaborated, gamers gathered, friendships formed, and entire subcultures emerged. For many people, it was their first experience with a truly global online community. And looking back, it's hard not to feel a little nostalgic for a time when the internet felt smaller, stranger, and a little more adventurous. Special shout out to all my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see exclusive Silicon Siren content, be sure to visit me on Patreon. Thanks for watching.